Welcome to Graphic Tracer. Most of the time you don't get perfect vector graphics from auto tracing. This is true for all vectorizing software. Unless you have an exceptionally good quality original that's large enough, you typically will end up editing your graphics, and this can mean hours of boring, tedious editing and redrawing. In Graphic Tracer, we've worked hard to simplify this task so that you can recreate ready-to-use originals in as little time and effort as possible. Naturally, you'll sometimes end up doing some manual editing, but we have developed some unique tools that will help you in your everyday work. The Font Eye tool was developed to do automatic font identification with text replacement. This means you can get absolutely perfect text in your logo and other graphics in seconds. This tool is very powerful and can identify a variety of type styles and configurations, such as script text, fonts aligned to a curve or other path, text that's been compressed, stretched, and more. We'll start by opening a label with 3 different texts to show you how it works. We let Graphic Tracer automatically select the colors and click Process. To make the bottom text appear more clear, we'll increase the level for black and click Process again. The text still has some brown fields. We want to get rid of these, so we'll use the Color Filter tool. We select it and pick the colors white, orange, and black. Now, when we circle an area, only these colors will be allowed and all the brown spots are removed. We then convert the image into vector graphic. As you can see, the bottom text turned out pretty bad. Parts of it are even missing. We click Text to access the Font Eye tool. We then click and drag a box around the text we want to select and work with. This text is straight, so we will keep the default straight text setting. And then we click Next to continue. The selected letters are now interpreted by the program, and we check to ensure the characters beneath each letter are correct. The Shift key symbol underneath the character indicates that it's uppercase. All characters are correct, so we click Next to search for the font. After a little while, we see Graphic Tracer has identified the font. The program lists Atlantic Inline as the best match in our list. Notice Graphic Tracer displays the suggested font on top of your graphic so you can immediately see that it's a perfect match. We want to replace the trace text with the actual font. To be able to do this, you must own the font. The typeface does not have to be installed on your computer. If you let Graphic Tracer scan through all of your font collections, you can then use them for replacement or adding new text into your graphic. Check out our instruction video for installing Graphic Tracer and see how you scan your font collections into Graphic Tracer. Fonts that you own are shown in green in the list, and here you can see that we own the exact same font as the one at the top of the list. You can even see that it's installed on our computer. When we select it, we can see that it also is a perfect match. When we select a font that we own, the Replace button becomes active. All we have to do now is click Replace, and our graphic has perfect text. Let's see what more Graphic Tracer can do. We select the top text and click Identify Font and Replace. This text is also straight, so we click Next. The letters are identified correctly, so we click Next again. When the search is done, Graphic Tracer suggests 007 GoldenEye as the closest match. We see from the preview that it's not even close. Even if we try the other fonts in the list, there's nothing that resembles our vectorized graphic. If the Graphic Tracer does not find the correct font, it may be the font is not in the program's search databases, or it could be that someone has tweaked the text. Graphic Tracer has over 100,000 typefaces in its search databases. Since the number of fonts keep growing every year, it's always possible that there are fonts that cannot be recognized. If the text is tweaked, you can try the Try Stretching option and make a new search. Now you can see that Graphic Tracer identified the font. It's called Optimum Bold and has been stretched out to 215% of its original width. We have the typeface installed on our computer, so we just click Replace to get perfect text. Now we only need to fix the velvet text in the middle, and all the text will be perfect. We select it and click the Identify Font and Replace option. This is also straight text, so we click Next to check the characters. This time the program was unable to identify the characters of the text. This is because Graphic Tracer assumes that there is only one letter per box. To fix this, we simply enter the correct characters for each group and click Next. When the search is ready, we can immediately see that a perfect match is found, and bitmap script is also installed on our computer so we can directly click Replace. Let's take a look at some other cases of font identification. We open an image in the program with some text in it. We let the program automatically pick the colors and click Create Vectors. When we zoom in, you can see that the texts are a little bit uneven, and to quickly get a good looking text, we need to replace them. We start by selecting the vertical text down. This is not a straight text, so we need to change the alignment setting to vertical text. Then we click Next to check the characters. They seem to be correct, so we simply click Next again to search for the font. The identified font is called Cancun. We own an identical font, so we simply select and click Replace to make the text perfect. The next text to fix is Stairs. We select the first character and then we right-click it. A menu appears where we can expand the Select option. If we choose Select the same color, all objects with the same color become selected. Now we click the Identify Font and Replace option. This text is neither straight nor vertical, so we will select the Free Character option for this text and click Next. The R needs to be corrected. We then click Next to start the search. The typeface is recognized. We now select the one we own and click Replace. To select the yellow text, we select the first character and right-click and choose Select Same Color. Then we click Identify Font and Replace. These letters aren't aligned at all, so we select Free Characters and click Next. Since the letters are tilted, the program cannot recognize the characters, so we have to enter them manually. You can jump to the next box by pressing the Tab key. We suspect that someone has rotated the letters in this text, so we'll show you how to adjust the angle of each character. Some fonts have rotated characters, so you might want to try searching without rotating them. To adjust the angle, you simply click and drag the rotation arrow at the top of the right corner of the box. Try to adjust the angle to the letter inside the box. The bottom of the rotation grid has a solid line so that you can see what's up and what's down in the grid. Once you have set the angle for all letters, click Next. The font is identified as Dexter Out, and it looks like a perfect match, so we select the font we own and click Replace. The last text has two lines. Graphic Tracer cannot replace text on two different baselines at the same time, so we have to select one line at a time. It's often better to select the largest one if they're two different sizes because it's easier for the program to identify a large font. This text is tilted, so we select the Angled Text option. An angled baseline for the text is shown. If the baseline isn't correct, you can adjust it by clicking and dragging its ends. Click Next to continue. The exclamation mark needs to be corrected, and then we proceed by clicking Next. The font is City D Medium. We own it, so we simply select it and click Replace, and we get perfect vector graphics in the text. Now we select the second line, which we can see has the same font. We click Identify Font and Replace and select the Angled Text option. We then click Next and correct any characters that have been misinterpreted. This time we know that this text is the same font as our previous search, so we click the last search button. We select the font that we own and adjust any characters that need to be moved and click Replace. Now all the texts are perfect in this image. Graphic Tracer can identify fonts and text that have been transformed in many different ways. Here's an arc text that we want to identify. We select the circular arc option and a baseline circle is shown. Adjust it so that it follows the base of the selected text and then click Next. All characters seem to be correct, so we continue with our font search. The font is identified. We select the installed Cachette Bold font and adjust the position of the C before we click Replace. Let's try a text that's aligned to a path. We select the text and click Identify Font and Replace. This time we will select the Curve Alignment option. The program tries to calculate a baseline curve for the text, but we need to adjust it to make sure it looks right. Just click and drag anywhere on the curve to adjust it. When we are satisfied with this look, we click Next and check that all the characters are interpreted correctly. The characters are rotated, so the program may have some difficulties in identifying the characters. We click Next when we're ready. We own a font called City D Bold that seems to fit perfectly, and with one click we can get perfect vector graphics in our text. In the middle of the graphic we have a text with divided letters. It's not always easy to select objects that are placed inside others and that are surrounded by graphics. If we start our selection frame inside another object, we often will end up moving it. In most graphic software, you have to start clicking and dragging the selected frame outside of all graphics and then go back and exclude any objects that were accidentally selected. In Graphic Tracer, we have a special selection mode when you have text activated. Here you can start your selection frame anywhere without the risk of moving any objects. This makes it easy to select objects anywhere in the image. You just need to remember that this only applies when you have text activated. We now click Identify Font and Replace. This is a straight text, so we can directly click Next. This time you see we have more character boxes than we wanted because the letters are divided. To fix this, we simply click and move objects from one box to another. When we release an object, it will be included in the box we moved it to. Once we have made sure all characters are correctly grouped, we need to set the correct characters for every box and then click Next to perform the font search. The font is identified and we can use it for replacement. When we zoom in, we can see that the replaced text has become perfect. We open a new text file with an arc text. We select it and choose the circular arc option. We adjust the baseline circle and click Next. Enter the correct characters for every letter. In this case, we can't tell if someone has used a small caps font or if the designer has enlarged the two M's on purpose. Let's first assume that it's a small caps font. In this case, we have to enter lowercase letters for all other characters than the uppercase M's. We click Next to try these settings for the font search. The correct font is not found, and when we try other suggested fonts, we can see that they are all wrong as well. Let's do an attempt with the Try Stretching option checked. The font could not be recognized now either. The font might not be in the database of this program, or maybe the two M's are of different size than the rest of the text. Graphic Tracer assumes that all the characters are the same size when it tries to identify a font. Let's do a new search, but this time we'll only select the center characters. We select Circular Arc again and click Next. Check that the characters are correct and click Next. It looks as if Graphic Tracer still can't find the font, so we check the Try Stretch option again to see if the text has been compressed or stretched and click Search again. This time the typeface is identified as Wanted Poster and it has been compressed to 31% of its original width. We scroll down the list to see if we own a font that looks the same. The first green font is called Black Oak. We select it, and as you can see, it's a good match. We adjust the position of the N and click Replace. Now we only need to fix the two M's. We select them and click Font Identification Tool. Now we select Free Characters and click Next. We type uppercase M's for both boxes. Then we adjust the angle for both letters. Graphic Tracer usually needs 3 different letters to determine the font, but since we already have identified the font, we will simply click Last Search. The last search is a perfect match. Graphic Tracer also remembers the compress or stretch factor from the last search, so we can scroll down to the font that we own and click Replace, and we get perfect M's in the text. Graphic Tracer handles font identification of text one line at a time. If you have multiple lines in a text, you have to deal with them separately. Another limitation is that a line can have a maximum of 50 characters. If the text is longer, then you have to replace the text in steps. You do not, however, need to identify the font every time, as you can simply click Last Search when the characters have been identified correctly. When a text is longer than what will fit in the program window, arrows will appear so that you can check out the whole line of text. You can also step backwards by clicking the arrows on the left. When you have checked the whole text, click Next to search for the font. The program identifies the typeface as bullpen heavy italic, and this time it looks as if we don't own the font or any other similar looking ones. We will try to do the search with the replaceable only option checked. Now the program will only search among fonts that you own. It seems that we don't own a font that matches the text or is close enough. This means that we will have to get the font from a supplier. We uncheck the replaceable only option and do a search to get the correct font again. In the list you can see that the font is available from a font collection called DaFont. We click Suppliers to access an online font search tool in Graphic Tracer. In the suppliers list you can select which website you want to search for your typeface. We read that it was available from DaFont, so we select that supplier. DaFont is a website where font creators can upload free fonts. The fonts on this site have different licensing terms. Some may be demo fonts, others may be free for personal use, and others 100% free. You often get better search results by omitting extra keywords in the search, so we will just search for bullpen. Graphic Tracer now opens your web browser and displays the search results from the selected site. This font is 100% free, so you can just click download to immediately get it and install it on your computer.